start that now and share my screen back again. Those of you watching the recording, welcome. We just did some introductions. And the agenda today is just getting some general information. The next big thing on the timeline is registration, talking about that. Getting ready can really, preparing well, as in most things, will make the gathering better. Choosing your adult leaders is so important, and then giving you guys some more resources. I wanted to show you all the promo video.
God's presence was so massive. I thought that the roof was going to blow off the building.
There we go. Now we will get it right.
God's presence was so massive. I thought that the roof was going to blow off the building.
It's the love of God that will remain when all things pass away.
You really get to get involved and you learn about the culture of the city that you're coming into.
You matter. You are loved. And there is no limit to God's grace. If our joy is only for us, then it is not God's joy. God's joy is for everyone. God was there through prayer from my church and friends. God was everywhere. Are you ready to live for this?
So that is our main promo video. All the videos I'm sharing with you all today can be found on the ELCA Youth Gathering website. This website will pop up on a PowerPoint, but it's elca.org. And then at the very top, there's like 4 buttons. One of them's the church-wide assembly and one's youth gathering. And in there, you can find all of your resources you need, everything here. So I'm a huge Jeopardy nerd. I don't get to watch Jeopardy very often. And when I'm working late, like tonight, my dad always sends me a picture of the final Jeopardy question and we try to guess it. We both got tonight's wrong because I was working late, so he sent me that. But one day, a couple weeks ago, I got to be home in time for Jeopardy, and there was a Minneapolis category during Jeopardy. So I wanted to share it with you because I'm a nerd like that. And I'm going to pause before the questions, the like, what is blank, and you can shout out the answer if you want. So here we go.
Minneapolis News Clues, presented by the Minneapolis Care 11 News Team.
Minneapolis News Clues for 600.
Here's the Care 11 News Team.
I'm Randy Shaver. Born James Janos in Minneapolis in 1951, this former Navy SEAL and wrestler body slammed his competition in 1998, winning the election for Minnesota governor.
Who is that guy?
Who is Ace
Jesse
Ventura?
Yes, we'll see if you're right.
John,
From Lesueur.
Sure.
that's right.
Minneapolis News Cruise 800.
Take a look.
Hi, I'm Chris Ledeen. A global center for healing since 1914, Minnesota's Mayo Clinic has had many medical successes, including in 1969, the first FDA-approved artificial replacement of this ball and socket joint.
It's a knee? No, shoulder?
You want to get one guess, Sarah?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you know the game?
What is a hip replacement?
The hip
Yes.
replacement.
Minneapolis 1000.
Back to Minneapolis.
Hi, I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Returning to the city sidewalk in 2017, after 2 years of street construction, the statue of this TV character again reminded residents, you're gonna make it after all.
Who is Mary Tyler Moore?
It's the character though.
Oh, Mary
Oh.
Richards.
Mary Tyler Moore.
No. No.
Oh,
John,
what is Mary Hart?
no. Barb?
Who is Mary Richards?
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
Aye.
The guy who's been champion for so long is he got it wrong. He doesn't get wrong very often.
Minneapolis 4.
Back to Minneapolis.
Hi, I'm Belinda Jensen. Metropolitan Stadium, home to great moments for the Twins and Vikings, was demolished in 1985 to make way for this world-famous shopping center. A plaque inside does let you know where home plate used to be.
Mall of America.
See if you're right,
Form of a question.
You got me.
Hi, I'm Gia Vang, showcasing the funky pop rhythms of the Minneapolis sound. This movie, released in 1984, was partly filmed in the city and starred our own native son, Prince Rogers Nelson.
What is Purple Rain?
Barb.
It was Purple Rain.
That's correct.
So thank you for indulging me in my nerdness of enjoying Jeopardy. We will go back to sharing the screen, and now we're gonna get to the important stuff. You know about Minnesota, you know about Minneapolis. The theme this cycle is boundless, God beyond measure. I want you to know all about Christ's love, although it is too wonderful to be measured. Then your lives will be filled with all that God is. We are bound by our sin, by the expectations of others, by poverty, by isms that try to divide us, and so much more. We want young people to imagine the boundlessness of God. What are the stories of God's people, both in scripture and modern day, that share the awe and wonder of just how vast our God is? What does it mean, and what does it look like to live a life filled with all that God is? The mission of the ELCA Youth Gathering is simple. 4 words: faith formation in teens. And through that, we have worship, interactive learning, Bible study, service, and fellowship. The on-site goals for each person that comes is that their faith is challenged and affirmed, that they get to experience new perspectives, they ponder their vocation, they bond with their congregational group, and they learn more about the ELCA. There are 2 pre-events before the gathering. The first I'm going to talk about is called MILE, the Multicultural Youth Leadership Event. It is for youth of color or whose first language is not English. It's going to be at the University of St. Thomas. So the registration opens up when the gathering registration opens up. MILE is a neat event. It's the last couple of cycles, we haven't had people from our synod attend MILE. I think mostly because our synod is very, very Caucasian. However, if you have 1 or 2 youth in your congregation that would fit the description of someone that is a youth of color or first language that is not English, which also includes Indigenous people. I encourage you to encourage them to go. It doesn't have to be your whole congregation. The team leaders for this is Kelly Sherman Conroy and Joe Davis. And when I had at our Synod coordinator meeting that happened a long time ago, February of 2020, they spoke to us, and it's amazing what they're going to do. And so I'm going to share a little short video about what MILE is. It is an amazing opportunity for young people of color, which I think is a very unique opportunity, especially for people in our synod, to get to experience that. Some of you might know who Mika McCracken is. She now works for Churchwide, ELCA Churchwide, but she is a daughter of our synod. And Molly Beck-Dean, who's the program director for the gathering, has known Mika for a long time. And Mika grew up in Bemidji. She's adopted from South Korea. And she wants people like Mika to be able to experience MILE. In cycles past, it used to be congregations where it was primarily congregations of color. But now they're really expanding it to make sure that every young person who fits this, who self-identifies in this, would be able to attend. So, yeah. Oh, Pastor Rachel says in the chat, I have several friends who have been part of MILE and speak really highly of their experience. It's top-notch. They're going to have translators. And I wasn't writing fast enough, but they have 10 translators at least speaking different languages. And one of them is going to be a Ojibwe, which I think is really cool because it's from our neck of the woods. The next pre-gathering event is the table. It used to be called Dale. The table is for young people living with disabilities and a caregiver, and that's self-identifying disabilities. It could be physical or mental, and with a caregiver. Back in Houston in 2018, I helped with the Synod Day team, and the hotel that we were getting ready at was also the hotel that the table was at. And I got to peek in and experience some of that, and it was amazing. It gave me goosebumps. They really care for both the young people and the caregivers. And one really neat thing, a benefit of having a young person with a disability go to the table, is they get to check out the interaction center at the convention center and the stadium ahead of time, and that helps ease a lot of anxiety, and if there's mobility issues, that helps a lot. And so I encourage you, if you have a young person, to think about that. And I have another little short video. I don't have tons more short videos, but this is another important one that I wanted to share with you all. Yeah, so we haven't had people from our synod attend Table or Mile in the past, but the more I learn and hear about it, the more I know it would be so beneficial for our young people in our synod. I know in the context that I have served and lived in, that some people in high school that are in like special ed programs are over that 18-year-old mark. If you have a young person that's still going to school that's over 18 and that has special needs, they would be able to attend the table. So it's not like they, so if they're of height, there's more information. I don't know all, but like if you have a young person, talk to me and I'll get some better information. I am wearing a shirt, got gathering questions, I've got answers. I don't know all the answers, but I can find them, or I know the people who have them. And so if you have more questions about the table, please ask. I saw another chat. Is there age range? Okay, perfect. I answered Pastor Rachel's question without even seeing that. So then promotion. We are getting close to that time of needing to get our young people on board. As you know, putting something in the newsletter and the bulletin it's a good place to start, but getting that personal invitation is going to be important. I think if you have a young person in your congregation that attended a gathering in the past, make a little video to share, or if you post some pictures of previous gatherings, if your congregation has ever been to a gathering before. If not, I can, if your congregation is new to this, I can help find people that would be able to be good storytellers, that we can get some good promotion things around them. Encourage people in your congregation to follow the gathering social media and blog so they can get excited about it. The age range for those who can attend the gathering next summer are young people who are entering 8th grade to 12th grade this fall. So if they're going to be in 8th grade through going to be seniors, they can go. Unfortunately, because of the timing, there is a gap. There were some young people who graduated this last year who won't be able to go, which is a bummer. I know some personally that are really bummed that they don't get to go to this gathering. They were planning on it to go this last summer, but once you have a year out of high school, you can be a volunteer, but you can't be a participant. So promote, talk to your young people, and you all know that a personal invitation is way better. Some things about registration. Participants register as a congregational group, with one adult, like I said, serving as the primary leader. Primary adult leaders are the organizers receiving communications from the gathering office about housing and payments. I'm jumping ahead, but if you register during the early bird time, you will be able to be in the Synod housing block. So you would be in the same hotel or really close to the same hotel as the other people from our Synod. And you will get your housing information by the beginning of February, maybe even late January. So that's a few things to know about. Each congregation will need their 5-digit congregational ID. If you don't know your congregational ID, someone in your church office does. They need it every year to fill out forms. And if they are still stuck, if you're still stuck, you can email me, because I have in my hand every congregational ID in our Synod. And so you can reach out to me. Registration this year, like I said at the very beginning, every gathering is a new gathering. The registration is going to be completely different. So On August 19th, which is this Thursday, there will be a webinar, which will be recorded, about registration. Michael, who just recently took on a different call, who worked with the ELCA youth gathering, likened our old registration system to like a backpack car phone, you know, like those big, or like the Nokia like cell phones of like the first generation cell phone. And when we met in February of 2020, he likened this registration system, which was still in the beta testing at that point, so I didn't get to see it, as at least an iPhone 8. So like that's a big change, right? Like we've lived through knowing all of that. So I encourage you to check out that registration webinar. They're doing a lot of great things with webinars this session. So there have already been some webinars. The getting ready materials I'll talk about in a moment. And once it's done, you can go back and watch them. If you register for them, you can watch them live, or they'll send you the link. Like I signed up for the getting ready materials and then life happened. So I didn't get to watch it live, but I was sent the information. So I encourage your primary leader, someone, to watch the registration video before you register. That will be really important for you. Another one I'm going to lift up that I have later on a slide is the September 8th safety and security one. There's another one down here on January 20th. They just added the September 8th one to talk about COVID primarily. That will be another important one. They're doing it before registration starts. So that's a couple of things. I'll stick this link in the chat so that you can save it for later. But again, ELCA.org, hit the youth gatherings, and you'll be able to find the webinars. Each gathering, I feel like they just do better and better about communicating and all of that. So
Chris,
registration, yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we are a 4-point parish, and when we register, we just have to pick one church, I believe, to put in for congregational ID.
Yeah.
Is there any way to print like their correct city? Because we're from like 3 different towns. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It might say the wrong town on their ID stuff.
Yeah, I will look into that. I know that to be a group, you need to register under one, but there is a spot on the registration to put in the other IDs of the congregations. Okay. And so since I don't know everything about the new registration, there might be something to be able to like say these people are from, you know, Plum, and these people are from Swim Valley. Okay. And so, but I know to register, you need the one, and then there is a spot to put in the other congregations that are part of it. Yeah, good question. Registration dates. Early bird starts September 22nd and goes through November 21st. If you wanted to wait till November 20th, November 19th, you will still be able to bring young people to the gathering. It won't fill up. In the craziness that is the world, if I was bringing a group, I would probably wait until that little bit closer to the deadline as well. $150 non-refundable deposit is due per person, including adult leaders, at the time of the registration. And housing and registration balances are due June 22nd. If the gathering cancels, so like if they cancel, you will get all your money back. But if you decide, or if a young person decides to not go, then it's non-refundable. So there, regular, so this early bird registration is when you're guaranteed to be with the other synod, the other people from our synod, and more than likely the regular as well. But if you get in during the early bird, you'll get the housing earlier as well, and that helps make plans. Some things about housing.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if someone registers, you know, and they pay their 150 and then they don't go, but someone else is going, can they take their spot, or do they have to pay late fees and they can just change that? We can just change the name on the registration?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I believe there's like a date where you can't do that anymore, or like they do shirts for the service day, and so you might not get the size that you desire, but I know you can switch out people from that. So like if
That might be
someone-
most important for the adults, because sometimes there's changes of plans. for
yeah,
adults,
life
so,
happens, and adults
Yeah.
have to take vacation time often to be able to be an adult leader. So yeah, nope, you can swap out people. You don't have to figure out the housing. You'll stay in a gathering hotel. The rates will vary, but it's when you're figuring out your budget, it's best to plan for $159 a room plus that icky tax of 11% per room per night. We are not eligible for tax exemption for hotel rooms. Oop, I jumped ahead. We won't know what type you can request types of rooms, but you won't know the types of rooms you have until that February housing if you registered at the early bird rate. So plan for 3 people per room when you're doing your budgeting. Because most of the rooms would be able to accommodate at least 3 people. Some of the other things about housing, there are 3 main pods that housing will be at for the gathering. There's a downtown Minneapolis pod, there's a Mall of America Bloomington pod, and there is what I believe they're calling like western suburbs, which to us is like the St. Louis Park-ish area. There's a Costco in St. Louis Park, and there's like a bunch of new hotels around there. And so those will be the main areas where they've gotten the hotel rooms. There will be some people in like downtown St. Paul, but most will be in those 3 pods. You pick who is in the rooms, like it's up to you and your church policies and what you guys are comfortable with. I encourage you to check out your church's insurance to see if there are policies for housing. There aren't enough rooms for people to have their own room. And so you will need to share, but you need to figure out as a congregation or people you're traveling with, how you're going to figure out the rooms. Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Just maybe this is obvious, but you know, if you have one of the adult chaperones sharing a room with kids, they cannot share a bed.
Yeah, unless they're like if my stepdaughter were to go, like I can share a bed with her, like only family.
Okay.
So, but yes, they have lots of suggestions, and check your church insurance. Church insurance policies have a lot of information in that, and yeah, you know your people and your contacts better than I do, and so you need to do what's going to be the safest for all of your people. Getting ready. The gathering is about faith formation in teens, group to prepare, to have open minds and hearts, will have a way better gathering than those who walk in and are like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. The groups who have the best gathering experience are the ones who are well prepared, and the adult leaders are extremely well prepared. We have the official gathering handbook, tips and tricks for adult leaders. You can find this online for free. You can print it. It's like 97 pages. So if you want to print it, that's a lot of paper and ink. You can purchase this at Old Lutheran. They have there's the official gathering, excuse me, gathering merchandiser. This is a really great book. There's ways to help. We're going to talk about picking adult leaders in a little while, but there's like 10 pages on that. There's timelines, covenants, budgets, lots of really good information. So even if you just download it and skim it on your computer, it's definitely worth checking out. They also, I might be jumping ahead. This cycle, there's this new resource called Theological Exploration of Daily Themes. If you want to learn a little bit more about what's going to be behind the daily themes, I encourage you to check that out. If you have some people in your congregation, parents or grandparents that are concerned about what the kids are going to learn about, this is a great resource for that. And another great resource that I think I might be jumping ahead on is this Getting Ready material. I know I'm jumping ahead about it, but since it's in my hand, I'm going to talk about it. Pastor Sarah, I believe the handbook is like $12, I think. And I don't think every adult leader needs one. I think if you had one in your congregation, that would be plenty. So this Getting Ready materials, I know a couple of youth directors that one gathering cycle, they didn't use this at all. And then the next one they did, and they could not fathom how big of a difference it was. So this Getting Ready material talks about the daily themes. The daily themes are boundless love, boundless creation, boundless forgiveness, boundless invitation, and boundless promise. In each of the 5 days, there are 2 lessons. So you can use these as your senior high youth group. It doesn't have to just be those who are attending the youth gathering. Anyone would get information out of this. So if you have a youth group of 20 people and 10 of them are going to the gathering and 10 aren't, you can use this with all 20 of your youth group. It's not it's not ELCA youth gathering like exclusive. And so that's really great. The curriculum keeps getting better and better. It's really written well for you to know like what you need. I've used it in a retreat form in the past. So I've done like an overnighter where I went like through 4 lessons, or there's just lots of different ways to use it, but I strongly encourage you to check this out and use it. And free resources that are quality are not always easy to come by, so I'm a fan of that. So those resources you can find on the resource page. The elephant in the room, COVID. I'm going to click on, I already shared with you that there's going to be that new webinar on September 8th, but there is a website that is FAQs around COVID. So as a lot of things with, I'm sure you're dealing with in your congregations and context, it's hard to plan, right? And so everything is like at this time. But at this time, vaccines aren't required. They don't know about masking. They'll know more closer to the event. Registration won't be postponed, but the date when they will know for sure if the gathering will happen will be later this summer before registration opens, which I haven't heard anything yet. And as you all know, it's still a little early to know. And again in late November, early December. And so yeah, it's hard to know. And we will know a lot more after I'm gonna hop on that September 8th webinar as well, to learn more. Housing will be the same. I said earlier, if we register ahead of time, you can get all your deposits back. If you want to, you can donate them towards the Ministry of the Gathering, but they will be refunded. So a lot like how your ministry planning is going, I am sure. I'm gonna stick this link in the chat so you can snag that for later, because I'm sure that's going to be a lot of questions for your people. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. Hi, Pastor Lori. So money, finances, lead planning with a vision that shares what a great investment this once in a lifetime experience is. This is an opportunity for growing faith and life for everyone who participates. Money is tight. COVID has hit some families and some congregations harder than others. And so there are a lot of financial opportunities. There is this blog. In the past, people have complained about the cost of the gathering. Fortunately for us, the gathering will probably be a little bit less expensive because we don't have to be on a bus for 36 hours and do meals and housing for 2 weeks. But the gathering, here's a blog that I'm going to stick into the chat as well. But it just talks about how the gathering is just an important piece. It's important in a lot of people's faith stories. I remember when I was in high school and I walked into the dome and experienced worship for the first time with my peers. I grew up at a church where there wasn't a lot of young people. And to walk in and be around that many young people worshiping and talking about our faith was just really life-changing for me. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who have had those experiences as well. So we have budgeting. What does it cost? So the registration that we've already talked about, the $150 deposit, and then the rest, transportation, food, housing, activities, and extras. Transportation, I don't have a slide on this, and I wish I would have put one in this afternoon. The gathering offers transportation once you are at the gathering. You can opt in during registration, and they will make sure that you get to wherever you need to be. That could be the light rail, it could be buses, and they will help make sure that you get to wherever you need. If you want to use your own transportation, getting to US Bank Stadium, if you haven't been to US Bank Stadium when there's been a lot of people around, transportation is going to be hard. Kim Adams, who actually is one of Concordia's campus pastors, is the team lead for transportation. She found out from Minneapolis, the city of Minneapolis, that they're going to be doing some road construction next summer in downtown. And so getting the buses are going to be even a little bit more difficult. And so getting your personal vehicles around, especially US Bank, is going to be particularly difficult. And so I encourage you to just use the gathering transportation, and then you don't have to deal with the driving and all that. There is a way, I have a slide for it in a little bit, that transportation might be a neat thing for one thing, but transportation, they take care of it, but you need to get to the gathering itself. So I encourage you to not take your kids to Valley Fair or a Twins game or the Mall of America during this trip. Let the kids from North Carolina or Alaska or all those places check out all those things, and you can do a trip later on and hit up those things. There's a lot of neat off the beaten path things to do in Minneapolis. There's a bunch of neat little ice cream places and donut places and like mini golf and the sort of more random things. But the gathering keeps you really busy. And so you won't have a lot of time to be doing a lot of activities either. Adult leaders. Choosing the best adult leaders is critical for the gathering. It's one of the most important things that you can do. They can make or break the trip for both you as the primary leader or as one of the adults going. When I was a youth, our adult leaders fought amongst each other that us youth, we had to sit down with them and tell them that they needed to get along. And that's just a little ridiculous. I don't think that needs to happen. In the handbook, they have a lot of great tips for helping find an adult leader. This is a youth gathering, not an adult gathering. You might have some parents that went to a youth gathering when they were in high school and they say, I'm going to be a chaperone. And that's not necessarily the best person to have as an adult leader. The gathering requires a 1-to-7 ratio, 1 adult to 7 youth. I recommend 1-to-5. I think it's a little bit more manageable, especially if you have to break into smaller groups to find places to eat and all of that. Have them be realistic and not idealistic. This trip is not about the adults, but it's about the youth. And that, like I said, the mission is faith formation in teens. They need to be self-aware enough that if they're introverted, that they're not going to get a lot of downtime or alone time. They need to just have capacity. They need to have patience, and they need to be able to walk about 20,000 steps a day. And so it's a big deal. It's not a vacation. They might be having to use some of their vacation time, but it's definitely not vacation at all. An effective adult leader will be prepared and positive, caring, non-anxious, unselfish. They help youth be engaged, create a group culture where each person helps each other. They lead unselfishly, sometimes helping their group act with grace. It's not about them. It's for everyone. Pastor Sarah, with middle school gatherings, they require both male and female adults. If there are both male and female youth, does this apply? It's a little different because it kind of depends on how you do housing. Like that's the biggest factor is what's going to be the safest and best for housing, but it's not a requirement of the gathering. So at one of the gatherings, I had a mom and her son, and they shared a hotel room. And I was in a room with the other 3 girls and I slept on a pullout. And so, yeah, you don't have to, but it's for housing and stuff. It's good. One thing I also think is important that if you have a small group going, I think it's best and safe, and it might even be a rule in your congregation, but to have 2 adults. So if you only have 5 young people go, it's best to have 2. If you have less young people than that, combine with another group for transportation and housing. It's best practices to not be alone with a youth. And so I think 2 youth, 2 adults should go no matter what. And so, yeah, just consider that, work that into your budget. And yeah, any questions about adult leaders? Okay, go ahead.
The question that comes to mind, you said, maybe having to combine groups to, coordinate gender specific rooms or all that. What does that do with the registration? You know what I mean? If I'm looking at Lori's next community net right over, if we combine groups, is that going to throw a wrench in registration if we're doing it for the sake of housing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'll dig in I'll ask about that, but I think at that registration webinar that's coming up on Thursday, that they'll address that. That's a common question. And so I don't know the answer for this cycle. I've shared with congregations, but I don't remember how I did it on the registration. And so, yeah, if it's not addressed at the webinar, I'll find out for you, Pastor Al, for sure.
And we have, now that I asked the question, I kind of have a feel of an answer. They've done it before. Because when we traveled as a whole bus, we decided already, mainly for the housing, there's got to be a way to do it, and they were open to it. So.
Yeah. And I think with the new system, with it being so much better, I'm hopeful that it will be more slick. Another thing about adult leaders need to be 21 at the time of the gathering. And so to be an adult leader, you need to be at least 21. All right. Before the gathering, check up on those ELCA/gathering. This cycle, they did a kickoff celebration. It was posted on their website. I'm not going to click on this link. It's about a 35-minute video where you learn a little bit more about the different pieces of the gathering. You meet 2 of the MCs, and it's a good video to get your group ready to go. Use those getting ready materials that I shared with you earlier. Sign up for the G News if you haven't already. I'm going to click on that so then I can share with you that link. It's about a monthly e-newsletter. They don't send too much. They send about the right amount, in my opinion. And this can be something that parents sign up for too. It's not super secret information for the primary leaders, but it's information, just general gathering information. And on the social media and in there, they will announce all of the speakers and the musicians and all of that stuff. That stuff doesn't get released until just like a couple of months before the gathering. Prepare yourself and your group for an intentional gathering experience. Other ways to prepare your group: set goals for the gathering, to be aware of others' needs and not just theirs. use those getting ready materials. There is a preparing our mindset as a tool. Two things I want to lift up in that kickoff celebration. They announced and you learn about one of the in-kind offerings. And I wanted to share that video with you all because I think it's kind of neat and it would be cool to start that process now.
So I started at the early stages when they were at Light of the World Lutheran, and Stu and Debbie came up with socks and underwear on their heads and their hands, and they said, it is Undy Sunday, and we're going to gather as much socks and underwear as we possibly can to donate to people in need. And we thought, you know, it was kind of crazy at first, but we loved how much it exploded over time into what it is now.
I mean, we donate socks all year round, so any sort of sock apparel that you personally would wear, we collect.
And a lot of times, not everyone has the space to carry all of these socks and underwear with them at all times. So we break them apart into packs of 3, and then everyone works together to bundle them into packs like these. So anything that you might even see as unimportant or might not be the biggest action in the world can have a ripple effect and help hundreds.
There's a big need not only for food, but also for the basic necessities of life. And socks and underwear are one of them. And I think that if people would recognize that there's more to the homeless, to the people that are in need, it's that warmth and dignity that we can provide with socks and underwear. It's simple, easy to do.
It's not just going to church. It's not just my own prayers. It's doing something. It's service and helping people in the community and trying to leave this world a better place than I found it.
We want young people and adult participants to bring clean, new socks and underwear to the youth gathering. Our goal for the Fill the Drawer campaign is 300,000 pairs of new underwear and socks. And we know that this will help the drawer expand their mission and help even more people in the Twin Cities and the surrounding areas.
I'm just so excited to see how many people we can reach so quickly, especially with this youth gathering. This is going to be amazing. We're going to be involving hundreds of thousands of kids everywhere, and maybe it'll give them a chance to decide to start their own sort of service projects.
So I am a supporter of Churches United for the Homeless, and I got their newsletter, I believe yesterday or the day before, and one of the things they needed were socks and underwear. And I think it could be cool to get your whole congregation excited about this in-kind offering and give half of it, bring half of it to the youth gathering, and give the other half to a local organization that needs it. I know there's places all over our Synod that could use new socks and underwear, especially socks in the winter, right? And so I think could be a neat thing to involve your whole congregation. And we know this early, so it's nice to have that information now. There will be a monetary offering. We'll find out who that goes for in the future. And there'll probably be another in-kind offering opportunity as well. Once that information comes out, that will be on the gathering social media and in that G News. So check that out. I am excited about that offering. It's tangible. It's something that everyone understands the need for good, clean fitting underpants and some socks. Another thing that I want to strongly encourage one person from your team to go is to the ELCA Children, Youth, and Family Extravaganza. The year of the gathering, they always have it in the city that it's hosting. I'm going to click on this guy. The theme, and they didn't even know, but the theme is boundless. And it wasn't planned around the gathering. It just happened. So thank you, Holy Spirit, for that one. They do have intensive courses in advance, and there is an intensive track about the gathering where you can tour all of the places and talk and hear from the team leaders themselves. And then there's different learning tracks. So the intensive is February 10th and 11th, and then the main event is February 11th to the 14th. If your congregation doesn't have the funds to go to the extravaganza, I encourage you to put it in your budget. It really will help make your group's experience better. Just hearing a lot of times the speakers, not always, but a lot of times the speakers are speakers that will speak at the mass gatherings in the evenings. You'll be hearing from different people. So I'm going to stick this link in the chat as well. But I strongly encourage you to go. It's pretty local for us this year. It's not very far, except it's not super exciting to go to Minneapolis in February, unless you're like, oh, they're going to stop at Trader Joe's like I am on my way home. And so, but it's worth it, for sure worth it. So I'm going to stick that link in there. I'll be there. And I normally take the people from our synod out for a meal. And so I encourage you to send someone to the gathering as well. So that's a really great way to prepare your group. What to expect. During the gathering, there are 3 programmatic days. So this cycle, the gathering starts on a Sunday and ends on a Thursday. The programmatic days are Service Day, Interaction Day, and Synod Day. They might not be in that order. About 22 synods. Each day will be in the different cycles. And so a third of everyone will be doing service projects one day, a third will be at the Interaction Center, and a third will be having Synod Day. I'm going to click on this link. There is a neat opportunity for Service Day this year. And this is where the one thing about if you were to travel yourself to the gathering, this would be a bonus of that. If you have a group of 20 people or less, that's including adults, so 20 people, 20 participants, and you have your own transportation, and that primary adult leader can partake in an online training, you can participate in a smaller service learning experience. Most of the in previous cycles, for your service day, you would load onto a bus with about 50, 60 other participants, and you would go to a site. And there's just a lot of service opportunities that can't handle 50 or 60 people at a time. And so this is an opportunity for some of those smaller groups, smaller service opportunities to be able to be part of the gathering. There's a couple of different things. You normally in a cycle, you get lunch as part of your service day. If you choose this, you do not get lunch. And you get a $5 credit per participant because you're using your own transportation. And so those are two things. You won't get a servant companion, which is that young adult volunteer. But going to that training, you'll learn a little bit more. And so this is a new thing. I don't know tons about it, but I'm going to stick that link in the chat so that you can learn a little bit more. If you need to connect, I know the person who's in charge of all the service projects, so I can reach out to her and get a little bit more information as well. But there's some blogs and there's some information about that. So if you are going to have a smaller group and you're going to have your own transportation, that's an opportunity. You don't have to do it, but it's just they're trying out a new opportunity for the gathering this time.
Chris, have they announced any of the service learning things that'll be going on?
No, not yet. And so I keep looking in the super secret Synod coordinator stuff to see what's there, but there isn't anything yet. So they're still trying to. I'm sure all those places. I know some places are requiring vaccinations, and some groups aren't taking anywhere right now because of COVID and all of that stuff. So there's just so much in the air. I'm sure one will be Feed My Starving Children, since that's Twin Cities based and there's quite a few sites. But yeah, I don't know about the other ones yet. So, and the service day isn't always like lifting up a hammer or a paintbrush. They've really lifted up the accompaniment, the walking alongside and listening. There's often been reading with young people. So like once we know a little bit more about what service day can be, to have your group know in previous cycles, we wouldn't know what you were doing until that day. So you didn't know if you're going to be reading or if you're going to be. One year I pulled the weeds in the 9th Award in 100-degree weather, while another group ate New Orleans food and talked to a chef. You know, like it's all different. And so it's helpful to make sure that your young people aren't like expecting to pick up a paintbrush or a hammer. That service can look a lot of different ways. Another programmatic day is Interaction Center Day. That will be at the Convention Center in downtown Minneapolis, which is, I believe, across the street from Central Lutheran. And then there's Synod Day. Synod Day, Bishop Bill will be preaching. Synod Day this cycle gets to be in a congregation. Minneapolis and the Twin Cities has enough large churches that we don't have to be in ballrooms. So we get to be in congregations, and because we don't have to pay for ballrooms, we get to have lunch as part of Synod Day. So that's a new thing. Most gatherings, the only meal that the gathering would pay for would be lunch on service day. But this year we get to have lunch at Synod Day as well, because we don't have to pay for those ballrooms. And so Synod Day will have, there'll be a great day of worship and learning as a synod. So yeah, that's that. There'll be 5 mass gatherings, opening worship on that Sunday evening, after each of the programmatic days. And then Thursday morning, there's closing worship at US Bank Stadium. And normally that's done about noon to 1 o'clock. So you can make it home even if you live in Baudette or War Road. You can make it home that night if you wanted to. So yeah, when you're planning your trip, my suggestion, a pro tip, would be to go down the day before. So I know some of you might have worship responsibilities, so it might be difficult to have a Sunday off. But checking into a hotel with 500 other people, especially a bunch of high schoolers in the lobby, and making it to the mass gathering that night is not a good time. It's stressful, the hotels are stressed out, you want to not be sitting in the lobby waiting. And so my suggestion would be to go down on Saturday evening, check into your hotel. You can spend Sunday doing something fun. They oftentimes open up the convention center, the interaction center on that first day of the gathering. So you can do a little bit of looking around there, and then come home on Thursday after the gathering. If I was leading a group, which I'm not, I would be doing that just because it's a lot less of a headache. So oftentimes you can check, they reserve your rooms for 2 days before and 2 days after the gathering. So if you do want to come down before or stay late, you have access to those rooms. Questions? I've talked a lot, I'm sorry. Follow the gathering on all those fun social medias. Reach out to me if you have questions. I might not know the answers. My shirt is a lie a lot of times, but I know the people who have the answers. So it's all about who you know, not what you know, right? So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for coming, and I'm gonna stop recording